Your cybersecurity solution is here. Introducing Pentester's Advanced Cybersecurity Suite. Ready for peace of mind? Try it for free. No credit card required. Pentester.com.
They found some kind of stuff and they were trying to hook up people's fingerprints to evidence and handwriting out and analysis. They were going around subpoenaing all mob guys for massive fingerprint. I mean, they must have hundreds and hundreds of copies of my fingerprints and my DNA. And then the last time I got out in 2004, they took a sample of my DNA. So that's in some database around the world. Run by the gangs. They were run by, one was run by the Latin Kings, one was run by the Bloods, one was run by the Crips, and one was run by the Jamaica Posse. And hello, everybody. I want to welcome everybody to Reform Gangsters. My name is Anthony Ruggiano Jr. And if you like the content, please hit the subscribe button and ring the bell. Also, don't forget about my Patreon to get some private info. And it only starts at $5 a month, so that'll be really good. You know, February was a great month, and now we're into March. So happy March to everybody. March Madness is going to start soon, you know, so I'm sure everybody's got their boards ready and their picks going and all that stuff. And I don't know how my team, Michigan State's doing. I got to check into it. You know, I'm a Spartan. My daughter graduated from Michigan State, so, you know, go green. So this month, anyway, I'm gonna be in the studio filming a limited podcast called The Goodfellas I Knew, because as we know, I had some intimate knowledge of the original characters that were portrayed in the movie Goodfellas. So that's going to be really interesting. There's also a lot of content on my Patreon from behind the scenes from my Sammy Gravano trip when I went out to Arizona a few weeks ago. Also, there's some Fat Andy content about his disciples. The episode of, those are all the guys that my father proposed and made members and captains and bosses. He had a very, very big crew. So that's also on my Patreon. And like I said, there's a ton of more content available. And it only starts at $5 a month. So please go check it out. I have some other news. My channel gets about 400 views a month. So, you know, if you want to be a sponsor and get your business advertised, please, you know, contact us through my website. You know, it's growing every day. I'm getting new members, more views as we go along. So, you know, it'd be a good place to advertise your business. So let's have a conversation. You can reach me at Anthony Ruggiano Jr. at gmail.com. So, you know, we could set that all up. And I also have merch. I have autographed copies of Sammy, the Bull, and myself. If you want to purchase a copy, please contact us. Also, I have hats and T-shirts and mugs, and it's a lot of really good stuff, good quality. So check it out. Before I go, I just want to thank all my Patreon members. I appreciate it. And also anybody that has bought merch, I want to thank them for supporting my channel. So someone sent in a picture, for my opinion, it's an FBI. It's a picture of how the FBI used to file their fingerprints in 1944. It's a big, big room with a lot of people at long desks. And, you know, the first time I ever got fingerprinted was by the 75th precinct in the very, very, very early 70s. I got arrested on Sutter Avenue with two other guys. And they print, you know, that was old school, you know, with the ink and on the cards. And then they filed the cards. The last time I got fingerprinted, it was all electronic. It was on a computer, on a glass screen. It was all electronic. So how things changed from when I first got arrested. It was on a card, and each finger had to be in a square box to where it was all computerized, and they just put it on your finger on a computer screen, and I fingerprinted it once. So this is a good story for a good show about. So anyway, I got subpoenaed once. So what happened was there was a grand jury sitting. I don't want to say who it's. I'm going to tell the whole story on another show, but this has to do with fingerprints. So there was a grand jury sitting, a federal grand jury sitting in Queens County in '92 when I got out of prison. Well, it was really in '93 because I got out at the end of '92. So it was the spring of '93, and I got subpoenaed. They found some kind of stuff, and they were trying to hook up people's fingerprints to evidence and handwriting analysis. They were going around subpoenaing all mob guys for massive fingerprints and writing analysis. They wanted all our writing and all that bullshit. So I get subpoenaed. They come to my house. I got subpoenaed. It was before my daughter was born because I wasn't living yet in Lindenwood. I think my wife was pregnant at the time. So they came to my house in Lindenwood. They subpoenaed me for this bullshit. They wanted my fingerprints and my writing. So I retained Ronnie Rubenstein, who was a mob lawyer, and we went to Queens Boulevard to the FBI headquarters. And that time, they actually fingerprinted my whole hand. Like, it was crazy. They fingerprinted the side of my hand. They put some kind of ball in my hand. They made me roll it. They fingerprinted my whole hand, the sides of my hand, each finger, this side, that side, this side. I mean, they actually fingerprinted my whole hand. That was the first time and last time that ever happened to me. And then I had to write. They gave me this thing. I forgot what it said, but it was like a couple of paragraphs. And I had to copy it down and write it on a piece of paper. And then I left. So, yeah, that was another fingerprinting excursion I had with the FBI. But it's all now. I mean, now with the DNA, now when I got out, it's crazy because when I got released the last time out of federal prison in 2004, so before you get released from federal prison, they don't do it in state prison. But before you get released, well, they didn't do it the last time I got released from state prison. I don't know what they do now. I'm going back 20 years ago. It might be different now. They take a DNA sample and more fingerprints. I mean, they took my fingerprints so many times over the course of my life that I don't even know why. They must have hundreds and hundreds of copies of my fingerprints and my DNA. And then the last time I got out in '04, they took a sample of my DNA. So that's in some database around the world. Part of the deal, that's it. They won't they won't let you out. I mean, they'll hold you, they'll deny you, So I was getting out to a halfway house, you know what I mean? So I had to supply a DNA sample. Otherwise, they would have denied me the halfway house, and I would have had to sit there for another 6 months. But at that point, does it really matter? I mean, they got 9,000 sets of fingerprints. I mean, so now I have another picture here. Someone sent in. This is it's actually the A train, and it's just a window in the door looking out at water. So that must be Jamaica Bay. It's probably going to Rockaway Beach because back in the day from Ozone Park, before we always took the train to Rockaway Beach, especially in the summer because Playland was open. There was an amusement park. Actually, Playland, the first date I ever went on when I was like 13 with this girl, Mary, I'll never forget. I went on the A train over the Broad Channel, over that, just like this. And our first date was to Playland. That was my first date ever. Yeah. So this picture brought back that memory, but that's the A train definitely going over Broad Channel to I'm assuming it's going to Rockaway. So if anybody else has any interesting pictures out there from the neighborhood or from New York in general, send them in. We'll talk about them. Also, if anybody has any other fingerprint stories, anybody have the pleasure of being fingerprinted at any time, we would love to hear about it.
Attention all realtors, check out listingtiger.com. Revolutionize your real estate listings with AI-powered descriptions that sell properties. Check out listingtiger.com. Use code MAGICLIST2024 for the first month free.
So people keep asking me if I'm intend on doing tours of Europe and the United States, and the answer to that is definitely yes. We've been working on that, and hopefully in the near future that will take place.
Gambino 77G is asking Anthony Ruggiano, have you met any Jamaican posses in the streets or in prison?
Good question. Actually, I have. Actually, in Attica, I was friends with a couple of the Jamaican. So in Attica, there's 4 yards. So every block has a yard. So you could be in Attica for 20 years, and you might be in A block, and someone might be in C block. You just might never see each other unless you see each other in the visiting room or walking through the hallways to the mess hall or something. Because Attica is a very dangerous place. It's a very high security. So in the yard back then in '98, now it's different now, but back then there was 4 phones in the yard. And they were run by the gangs. One was run by the Latin Kings, one was run by the Bloods, one was run by the Creps, and one was run by the Jamaican Posse. And the Italian guys, the mob guys, or the Italian guys, or the stand-up guys, whoever, white guys that were stand-up that weren't, getting abused or shut down or anything, like us, we used basically the Latin King phone. We were tied in with the Latin Kings. We pretty much shared a phone with them. Because you couldn't get on the phone. Like other guys that were punked out of it, they had to pay to get on the phone. I mean, you got killed over the phone. I mean, that's how dangerous. But we always used the Latin King phone. But I was friends with these Jamaican Posse guys, and I would be in the yard, and they would put me on their phone. Like, oh, come on, you could use. They would see me like, so you got to wait on. If someone's on the phone, you wait for the phone. So I would walk up to the phone at night, and I would be waiting on the phone. There would be a guy on the Latin King phone, and I would be waiting. And I forget the guy's name. He had like a real Jamaican name, and the Jamaican Posse phone would be empty, but they always had a guy standing there, watching the phone, so nobody could just walk up and grab it. And they would just say, "Come on, you go on our phone." So we were friendly with them. Yeah, so I knew that very dangerous guys. Yeah, Jamaican Posse. Most of the people in there aren't changing. That listen, they'll kill you over the phone. A lot of drugs. A lot of people using drugs. You know what I mean? It's all, a lot of people getting high in jail. There's a lot of drugs in jail. It's all about this in jail. It's like, the strong survive. If you're weak, you're a god. If they know that you're weak and they could push up on you, you're finished. You know what I mean? You're done. You know what I mean? They're pushing up on you. You know what I mean? And that's there's no two ways. Not us, not the Italian guys. Not that we're better than anybody, but we a lot of, don't forget, a lot of people in there have nothing. So yeah, they're gonna, if they know you're weak and they know they could push up on you, they're gonna push up on you. Yeah, it's winner take all. The strong survive in there. You know what I mean? The weak get eaten alive.
So give me an example of like a weak person being eaten alive. What happens to that person if they don't defend themselves and they don't stick up for themselves?
They'll shake them down for commissary. They'll make them pay to use the phone. They'll fuck them. They'll have sex. They'll make them, they'll have sex with them. They'll take their shit. They'll make them, they'll just take whatever they have. You know what I mean? Like, shake them down for money.
Why don't they just tell the guards and have it stop?
They have to go in protective custody then. They're not going to tell the guards, because then if they do that, listen, of course, then you got to sign yourself in. And once you sign yourself in, that follows you around the whole system. So even once you go into protective custody, that's at the end of you. You're creeped out. So once you sign yourself into PC, that follows you from facility to facility. So, so I befriended this guy. I befriended this guy in Attica, this Italian guy. He came from another prison. Nice guy, Frank, his name was. So there's rules in prison. So anyway, I befriend this guy. We start walking the yard. He's, and we're planning now on my wife is going to drive up to Attica with his wife to bring his wife to visit him because his wife had no transportation. So now there's this guy, Billy Batts, was with us. He had 25 to life. He was nuts, right? He gets a letter from the prison this guy just left, right? So he comes and sees me and he says, he used to call me Cuisine. He goes, Cuisine. He says, you need to read this. So I get the letter and it's about this guy. And in the letter, it says he checked in the last prison he was in. That means he checked into protective custody. And the reason why he checked in protective custody was, little beknownst to me, was he owed drug money. So instead of him doing what he needed to do, pay it or fight, he chose to check in. Once you check in, you can't hang out with us. You can't hang out. You can't hang out no more. You're creeped out. They used to call it creeped out. So now Bruno Batts tells me, Cuisine, you know what you got to do now, right? You know the rules. Now I'm in a predicament because now I got to either hurt this guy, I got to chase this guy, because now he put me in a predicament because now if a wire would have came down to these gang members that this guy owes so-and-so money in Greenhaven, they could jump this guy in the yard. Now, I don't know what's going on. If I'm walking the yard with him and they jump this guy in the yard, I got to jump in and help this guy. So now I go to him with the letter, and I give him the letter, and I make him read it. I go, are you fucking joking? I says, you know what you got to do here, right, motherfucker? And he checked back in. He wouldn't even come out of his cell because I gave it to him through the bars of the cell because we were on the same tier, but he was locked in and I was coming back from the yard. He didn't go to the yard that night after I got the letter, and I put the letter through the bars. I said, you know what you got to do here now, right? And he was gone the next morning. We made them take him out that night, and I never saw him again. So that's what goes on in prison. It's very, it's not petty. It's just the way it is, like there's rules and there's, and there's protocols and, for anybody out there listening, yeah, just do the next right thing. You know what I mean? Just stay out of the system, get a job, man. It doesn't pay, no matter how much money you got, it doesn't pay. Once you go into jail, we're all the same. You know what I mean? You can only spend in the feds. No matter how much money you got, you can only spend $220 a month. You could be a zillionaire or you could be a brokester. You only could spend $220 a month. So there's no advantage. I want to thank everybody for tuning in to Reform Gangsters. Don't forget, if you like this content, please subscribe, ring the bell. Also, don't forget about my Patreon. The membership starts at $5 a month. It'd be great for you to become a member, and also check out my merch. Thank you. If you enjoy my show, please join my Patreon, ask your questions live, and please join my Patreon at reformgangsters.com.